SoFi stock from here can 10x. That's right. I said it, SoFi investors. SoFi has the ability to 10x. No bullshit. I'm going to show you how that could potentially happen over the next 5 or so years in different scenarios. The stock, pretty good week this week, up from lows of like 17 bucks, up over $19 this week. Anthony Noto came in, swiped up some cheap ass shares, guys. He bought $1 million worth of shares this past week. I said that he was probably going to buy. He ended up buying on Monday. So that's a great sign moving forward. But I want to go through all these different type of scenarios and why I really think SoFi has the potential to 10x. This is not hyperbole. We're going to get into the nuts and bolts and the possible price to earnings and price to sales that could get us up to a 10x from current stock prices. Let's get into the video. All right, all my SoFi and stock market investors, do me a huge favor, hit that like button and the hype button. It does really help us get into YouTube's algorithm. And if you want more stock market and SoFi content, please consider subscribing to the channel. I just put out a great new video about how Trump just fired Kristi Noem, the head of the Department of Homeland Security, replaced her with Mullen. We go over all of Mullen's stock picks, the current holdings he has, and how we could potentially capitalize on those trends. I will leave a link for that video in the description down below. Now, take a look at your screen right now. We're going to go through all of this information on why I actually think SoFi has the ability to 10x sooner rather than later. Take a look at this chart right now. I just want to go over where the stock is currently trading at price to sales wise. This is a chart I made on their price to sales. We're at 4.94 as of March 2nd, right? It was up to 7.10. So if we take a look, take a law of averages, it's trading pretty good, very similar to where it was trading at back at the end of 2024, guys. So price to sales wise, we're getting in at a really good value, considering it was up over 5, 6, and over 7 over the last 6 or so months here, guys. Now, this is the quarterly PEG ratio history of SoFi stock dating back to Q4 2024. We're down to 1.42 right now, and it was up big at 3.41. So price to earnings growth ratio is something I always look at. So under 2 is a place that I would like to be buying at, in my opinion. And as this gets lower, SoFi becomes more and more of a buy for me. And in order to get a 10x, we want to get at valuation levels that make a lot of sense with a price to sales ratio and PEG ratios in these areas. PEG ratio under 1.5, price to sales under 5. I love that. And so right now, management is guiding 38 to 40% earnings per share growth from 2025 to 2028. So I love that moving forward. That's how we're going to make some of our numbers up as we kind of figure out, is it even possible to SoFi to 10x in the next 5 to 10 years? Okay, looking ahead, 2026 guidance, we're expected to reach about $4.655 billion in adjusted net revenue, roughly 30% growth. Adjusted EPS target is about 60 cents, and they are traditionally sandbagged these numbers. So if we did 65 cents, 66 cents of EPS this year, I would not be surprised at all whatsoever. And the member base growing consistently around 30% year over year. Another number I really like. So we're going to start to go through some of these scenarios where we plug in possible earnings, PE ratios, and EPS gains. Okay, so right now, SoFi stock predictions from 2027 to 2031, that's a 5-year horizon. Right now, they're estimating this year will be 60 cents of earnings here in 2026. In this particular scenario, we're doing 40% annual compound EPS growth. That's in the middle of guidance. They were guiding 38 to 42%. And this valuation is a fixed PE of 30 price to earnings ratio, right? I think that's very fair for SoFi. I think a stock with these kinds of growth rates could be trading in that 40 to 50 PE range over the long term, depending on macroeconomics, right? So in this case, with a 30 PE and 40% EPS growth, we will 5x to 96.90, approximately 5x from current stock prices, trading between $18 and $19, right? Depending on what day you buy. So that's a pretty good gains. 5x your money in 5 years. You know, turning 100 grand into 500 grand in 5 years. That sounds pretty juicy to me there, guys. I absolutely love that. And this is kind of a marginal case, right? Kind of like a base case, in my opinion. So we're going to go through all different kinds of scenarios. This is 40% growth with a 40 PE here. So 2027 will be at 84 cents with a stock price in that 33.60 range. And remember, back in November when it hit that $32 range, the PE ratio was like in the 60s and 70s. So if shit gets crazy, and these numbers could be way higher. We're just going through all these different scenarios to kind of get an understanding of how much growth we could see depending on the numbers that we're seeing out of SoFi quarter over quarter. So this is 40% growth with the earnings per share and a 40 PE. We go from the $18 in 2026 all the way up to $129.20 per share by the end of 2031. That's a projected 7x on our money, guys. I love that. Absolutely love that. So that sounds really, really good. Because remember, we're going off the $18 price, right? So $18 per share. And then we're going to times that by 7. And we're getting right around this $129.20. That's how I'm coming up with these numbers here, guys. All right. Next up on this chart, this is 40 for 40 over a 10-year horizon, right? So this is from 2027 to 2035. And it's baked in the 2026 numbers of 60 cents and the $18 strike price. This is the 40 and 40, 40 EPS, 40 price to earnings. By 2035, if we grow like this, that would be insane. But this is not out of the realm of possibility. Up to $467.20 per share if we maintain these growth rates. This is probably best case scenario. I don't think this is 100% realistic, but a PE ratio of 55 to 60 is not out of the realm of possibility either. Over the length of this 2027 to 2035 to maintain 40% EPS growth, that's a lot. It's a lot, right? So this is probably more on the absolute high end of where we could see the stock over the next 10 or so years. Not super realistic in my opinion. Okay. Here we go, guys. This is based on 42% earnings per share growth. This is in the shorter term, in 5 years. Because remember, 38 to 42% is what they're guiding through 2028. If that extends through 2031, and we're on the higher end of guidance, so I just put this in at 42%, from $18 to $173. Guys, that's like almost a 10x from where we're at right now. If you bought it over the last couple of weeks in that $17 range, that's a 10x from where we're at right now, $173.20. And that's with a big bloated price to earnings ratio, which it's been above this before in the past. So it's not out of the realm of possibility to get there. And the guidance of 42% on the higher end of where guidance is. So there's our 10x scenario within the next 5 years. That is, like I said, best case scenario in the short term. Is that 100% realistic? That remains to be seen, guys. So I do like these numbers though, man. 42% EPS growth with a 50 PE. This is like if the stablecoin, which we'll talk about a little later, explodes and we start to have growth in all these different other segments. That's where the stock has the potential of going, guys. That's kind of where we're at right now. Like I said, here's the 10x scenario. Here's on the lower range. Base year, 60 cents of EPS in 2026. 30% growth rate over these 5 years on average with a 25 X price to earnings ratio. 25 times price to earnings. So that would give us a stock price in that $15 to $17 range for 2026, and in that $55 to $60 range. Sorry, my dog just had to shake it off right there. She's just waking up from a little nappy poo. Yeah, so 55, 75, up between 55 and probably $65 with this case right here that you're seeing on your screen right now. That's still a 3 to 4x. And this is like, if things don't go well, way below guidance. And Noto and this management team has had a history of lowballing guidance, right? So this is probably worst case scenario. I think we're still a 4x from where we're at by the end of 2031. Okay, next up. Here we go, guys. This is a 25% annual EPS growth rate and a 30 PE. This is a 10-year horizon. I'm going over all the different scenarios so you just can kind of understand what we're working with here. $54 price in 2031. By 2037, that's a 10x. Over a 10x. Over $209 a share, excuse me. We're at between $18 and $19 over the last couple of days. There's our 10x with numbers that are not great. Considerably lower, but I wanted to go to a 25% annual EPS because the first 5 years are probably going to be over 30%, but like over time, those numbers are going to come down. That happens to every company. Not so much the execution of the company, but as the company gets bigger, the growth is just harder to come by, guys. Okay, this is kind of my price target predictions where I'm at fundamentally right now. I think the $66.83 from where we're at right now is probably more of a realistic target, between $66 and $76, up from $17 where we're at now. Huge gains. We're talking 5, 6, 7x from current prices in that $17 to $19 range, right? So we're looking at 4, 5x, maybe a 6x on the higher end of this. But over a 10-year span, if we can average 30% EPS growth and a 30 price to earnings ratio, which is pretty fair in my opinion, by 2037, we're at $322 per share. Oh, say hi to everyone out there in the SoFi land. Say hi, Penny. Say hi, puppy. Say hi. All right. She was milling around, so I figured I'd pick her up and say hi to everybody out there in the YouTube universe. But yeah, this is my case right here. I think by 2037, a $300 to $330 stock price is not out of the realm of possibility at all whatsoever, guys. And, between $65 and $80 per share in 2031, depending on how execution is, right? Okay. Here it is, guys. This is the growth from this past quarter, 37% year over year. Adjusted net revenue, 31% adjusted EBITDA, 17% GAAP net income, 53% year-over-year gains in the fee-based revenue, 61% up year-over-year in the financial services and tech platform. I mean, the numbers are really freaking good, guys. And just take a look. I love looking at this innovation and brand building chart where it kind of goes over all the things they're launching and expanding upon and growing their business. Like, look at all the little stuff here in 2012, 2015, 2019, 2020, and then we're just launching so many different services. It's quite remarkable. It's a very diversified platform with different kinds of income, and I love that. And what they just announced is this SoFi USD stablecoin. It's a US dollar denominated stablecoin issued by SoFi Bank, a nationally chartered and OCC regulated bank. One-to-one banking for every SoFi USD. It's backed by one-to-one by US dollar reserves, primarily held as cash balances at the Federal Reserve. Blockchain integration. It operates on the Ethereum blockchain. And for me, buying up some Ethereum, not a bad idea, guys. I'm definitely adding to my position. I currently have 2 Ethereum coins and almost 1 Bitcoin, but I'm just kind of adding more to Ethereum in my honest opinion. But use cases, MasterCard settlement, institutional use, future availability, and the fees they're going to collect on this stablecoin. We don't even know how much money they could generate from this stablecoin. Like if it blows up with the institutions and the MasterCard settlements, we could be getting little tiny pieces of billions, if not trillions of dollars in transactions over 5, 10 years. I mean, it's really remarkable where we could go. So guys, I just kind of want to lay out what I'm thinking SoFi can do over the next decade or so with all these different scenarios. We have my base case, my low case, my high case, all these different type of scenarios that could potentially play out. Obviously, like what's going on right now with the war in Iran, there's a lot of variables to all of these things. And if the economy goes in the shitter, all these numbers are going to be kicked down the road a little bit. But as long as this company can maintain a similar level of growth to where they're at right now over the next 3, 5, 10 years, these price targets are not out of the realm of possibility. If you like these types of video, guys, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit that like button. I appreciate you guys so much. We just crossed 4,000 subscribers. You guys are the shit. We'll catch you on the next video. Peace.